Hello, everybody, and welcome to another rousing game of Can I Red Crate This Conquest Cycle? I am your host, Egnards, and we're looking at the Stranger this time. I know a lot of people are going for Stranger Danger or the low-hanging masturbatory fruit when it comes to the Stranger. I'm going for the Stranger Within for those of you who played PC games in the early 90s. Now, before we begin, I am going to say, and I am going to use my platform to say, that Awakened Vandalorians is recruiting. I am looking for one person before TB, so hopefully you are that person and you see this before Monday afternoon. But if you are not that person, let's find out how you are going to red crate and get what seems to be one of the craziest characters that Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes has brought to the holotables. Now, first things first, if we were to pull up the stranger, who I believe is in game, this guy is nuts, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about him, but if you want to hear my thoughts, you can check out the last episode of Zeta Protocol with myself and Pico Burrito. He is insane, and I need to have him in my life because this is essentially Bane 2.0. Um, I do want to stipulate before we start that Relic Delta is not currently active in the game, and CG has said that when Relic Delta comes to the game, it will not be active in Conquest at all for the entirety of the Stranger's cycle. So, no matter where you are, the crate that you normally get should hopefully be the crate that you finish on here, if not going further. And if you need any help besides what I'm going to talk about tonight, there are some really great Conquest people on the Slice of Otagunga Discord, including, again, myself. Kazgul is amazing, and he has his own text-based guide through Substack, and we have that pinned and linked on Discord as well. And he's super, super, super responsive because I think his one kink in life is getting people to their red crate without spending a single dollar. Now, before we get into my strategy, I want to talk about my infographics, all right? And Moonborn puts together the infographics, and they are beautiful, and they are so well done, and they are awesome. And I am so lucky to have a Moonborn in my life because I recognize that a very many content creators do not have a Moonborn in their lives. But there are two infographics for each sector. The first infographic has my name up in the top left corner, and this is how I am planning to get through, right, with my roster. And sometimes that changes in the second set and the third set, depending on if I've learned a couple new tricks along the way. But this is my beforehand goal based on what I've learned from the past. The second set of infographics is really focused on people who are maybe not at the same level as my roster is. Maybe you're at 4 million, 5 million, 6 million. You have all of these neat toys, but you might not be able to string them together in the same way. I can't promise I'm going to have every answer for you, but I can promise that I'm going to have some of the answers. And if you reach out on Discord, that I may be able to get you some more answers as well. The final thought that I'm going to give is that there are a lot of pirate feats in this conquest cycle. I am primarily going to be focusing on profit from a pirate team perspective. If you have Hondo, awesome. Profit's going to be super easy for you. We're not even going to talk about that. Throw Hondo in instead of Maz. You're going to get that up in one, maybe two battles as an absolute maximum. Um, if you have a pirate team, if you did the last conquest and you have Maz, you are probably going to be able to get through the pirate feats without too much issue, though it is going to take a little bit longer. And if you don't have a functional pirate team, I think that the best way for you to go about this is either one, using your separatists with New Gunray and hoping that his profit does count since it actually triggers Form of the Enemy, and I'm not sure how that works with buffs versus debuffs, or using Jedi Master Luke with kicks, because kicks, anytime he gets a turn, is going to give himself a stack of profit to a maximum of 5, but he also loses stacks of profit when he uses his heal, so you should be able to get a good 10 in there by constantly calling him to attack, building his turn meter so that he's constantly taking those turns. We are going to skip talking about the survival feats because those tend to not be sector specific and tend to be strategy based depending on the data discs, and we don't know what data discs we're going to get. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more towards the end. And I do want to make one special mention, which is Padawan Obi-Wan. Now, originally, I was not on the Padawan Obi-Wan train for his Omicron. It has been such a time saver for me over the last couple of conquest cycles that I just don't care anymore. It is amazing. I love it. And with the episode pass, for those of you who buy the episode pass, it is definitely worth it because you are getting so many more Omicrons than you were in the past. So if we pull this up first, which is my workspace with Moonborn. You can see we like to yell at each other and say pretty and funny things back and forth asynchronously because we don't have Discord for that, right? But looking in at Padawan Obi-Wan's Omicron for this specific conquest cycle, there are two debuffs that he can do without it. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that he can do with it. Now, one of those is a repeat of the Omicron itself, but he will get it or the non-Omicron itself, but he will get it much faster with the Omicron. I do strongly recommend using it, especially if you are someone who is trying to push ahead and to push further. For those of you that are Buy Me a Beer members, I do have this, and I am going to try to do this for the future. Keep this active in our members section because it's something that I can change and update, and I try to get out a little bit earlier than the actual infographics because that takes a lot of time. But with all of that said, let's head into the actual sectors. We've got Sector 1. Well, I guess we should talk about the global feats first. Defeat 250 enemies on the challenge path. Easy, that happens on its own. Win 20 battles with 4 dark side clones. It's going to be tougher if you don't have dark side clones because now you need 4 of them, but they don't have to survive. So if we have something like Amplify Agony, you may be able to string this together even with low gear. Even with low gear clones, if you have Lord Vader, right? But if you have Lord Vader, you probably have the clones. You might be able to do it with SLKR. You might even be able to do it with Third Sister. It's going to be on the tougher side because you are going to need 4. Maybe on the Bad Batch node in Sector 1, shouldn't be too terribly hard. Attempt to inflict evasion down 80 times. Win 20 battles with full Galactic Republic squads. Now that one's super easy because there are a lot of different Galactic Republic squads that you can use between the JMK, between the Padme, between the old Bad Batch if you take Omega out of the equation, between Jedi Master Mace Windu, between the Quad May team. There's just a lot of options. Evade 200 times in battles won. I normally hate this feat. It's usually 100 in a single sector. I think over 5 sectors, this is actually not going to be too terrible in order to get your 60 assists for Booming Voice, and then gaining profit 100 times. If you have access to even a fundamental pirate team with like Captain Athano, you should be able to get this over 5 sectors. If you have nothing, again, we've kind of talked about that a little bit earlier in the video. If you have Hondo, just throw Hondo in there for a battle or 2 and you shouldn't even worry about this. But for Sector 1, we have attempt to inflict stagger 60 times, win 10 battles with a full squad of tanks, which is one that I really hate. We've had it before in the past, and it takes a long time to do, and that's my problem with it because the tanks don't do a lot of damage. Win 10 battles with Brutus, and attempt to inflict buff immunity 60 times. So how am I going to be doing this? I'm going to throw JML with New Wrecker, B2, Old Kenobi, and Young Kenobi here. Well, I should say General Kenobi, and that's going to get me win with only tanks, stagger from Wrecker's AoE, inflict buff immunity. JML does it with his middle special, B2 has an AoE, and inflict evade down from Old Ben's basic, and I'm just going to constantly call him. I am a little concerned about B2 to see if this is going to work, but either way, they don't have to survive, so I'm going to learn, pretty early on. I am going to use a Maz team with Maz, Teen Wolf, Captain Athano, SM33, and Pirate Captain Jude Law, because that's going to give me my Brutus surviving, inflicting stagger with SM33's basic, buff immunity from SM33's special 2. I'm going to gain profit because Maz gives it to the enemy, but then steals it from the enemy. But when she steals it from the enemy, she actually gives it to everybody else as well. So we should be able to get that fairly quickly throughout the sectors. And inflicting evade down with Silvo's basic. We also have our Sith Empire team with Malgus, buff immunity on Darth Revan's basic. I'm probably just going to spam that basic a bunch of times and stall a battle or two. Inflicting stagger with Bastilla's AoE, inflicting evade down with Sith Assassin's basic, but Sith Assassin isn't going to take a lot of turns, so I'm not going to really rely on that one. I'm also going to try to use my new and improved Jedi Master Mace Windu squad to get buff immunity off of Jedi Master Mace Windu's AoE, and just getting some early win with Galactic Republic in there. Some other options for win with only tanks. We have our Rebels down here on the bottom, which is a little bit more of a cohesive team. Lair, Pathfinder, K2SO, Kara, Dune, and Canon Jarrus. Win with only tanks, inflict buff immunity with Leia, right? Perfect, great. I might do a couple of those if my other tank squad starts to die out. Now, on the bottom here, you'll see these are my stagger on basic characters and my buff immunity on basic characters. And those are going to be important in the next infographic because these things, if you are somebody that has JML, you can take JML and you can throw him in the leaders with any other Jedi and throw any of these characters in for calls in order to stack those debuffs and get them as quickly as possible. Just note, Ezreal only is able to do stagger on basic after Exile is removed because JML is not actually going to call him to attack, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, if you are struggling a little bit more, here are some other picks for Sector 1. The Imperial Remnant team is really nice for stagger because of Scout and Scout's AoE. A Starkiller team is really nice for stagger because of Mara Jade. SK can do buff immunity when he's unleashed. By that time, you're probably not getting a ton of it in, and you're going to get inflict evasion down with Cal's AoE. My Jedi team here in the middle, this is basically what we were talking about before when we were talking about having a team that uses a call on basic character, and then having Hermit Yoda and Jedi Master, Grandmaster Yoda in there is going to give you a little bit better of a team when trying to get some extra evades for that win with 200 evades feat. Win with only tanks, I've chosen this team because it's relatively easy to get, right? Relatively early on. You could throw Third Sister in here as well and take out like JTR, who's maybe the weakest link. And I thought about doing that for the infographic, but I really wanted to cater to a little bit of a lower tier of players that maybe just don't have access to that as well. For buff immunity and B2 AoE, you can throw in a General Grievous squad. You could even take out this Droideka and try the Gunray strategy for profit and see if that helps, because Droideka is not really doing that much for this team. Honestly, he's just a separatist droid. And then you can do a regular old Rey team, throwing in Kira for her stagger on AoE. Now, on the bottom, we have this bonus team, and I don't do this for all of the other sectors, but it is something to keep in mind. The Quadmate team is really nice for all of these sectors because you're going to have the Padawan Omicron. Hopefully you have it and you'll be able to get stagger, buff immunity, and evade down on the enemy team. You're going to get evade from the Foresight from Grandmaster Yoda and Beck. And you're also going to win with Galactic Republic. And I really hate finishing Conquest and having a lot of these extra win with feats. So if I can whittle that down as much as possible, then I am a happy camper. Moving on to Sector 2. Take 50 bonus turns, not too bad. Win 10 battles with Silval and Vayne surviving. Gets a little harder now that we're adding a couple extra characters in there. Attempt to inflict daze 40 times and win 10 battles without losing any units. That win 10 battles without losing any units is probably the easiest thing here. They are a free feat for most players. I am going to be using my Gungan squad for take 50 bonus turns. Jar Jar hands those things out with like candy. It usually takes like 1 to 2 battles. You're going to very easily get win with full team surviving, and you're going to get days from Phalanx Basic, but I'm going to be honest with you, these battles are going to happen relatively fast, and I don't know how many you're going to realistically get. This is where I'm going to start using my Lord Vader squad with my 4 clones so that I can get more days from that team, as well as winning with 4 dark side clones so that I can start to build up that global feat early. I have my JML squad here with Jedi Knight Cal Kestis for extra bonus turns just in case I need it. GMY also has bonus turns as long as they're a living Jedi when he uses his AoE. I'm going to get my evades, and I'm going to inflict days with one of these days on basic characters down here on the bottom. Now, keeping in mind that old Omega, or young Omega, however you want to look at it, she can only do it if she has evasion up, which is going to involve having other Bad Batch members on the team for the most part. So she's probably not the best option of these guys down here on the bottom. And then I'm going to use my same Maz team with a little bit of a different comp, right? Is it a different comp? No, I think I'm using the same comp. I did forget to say in the beginning that my goal here with these pirate squads, because I'm going to be using them for every sector, is I'm going to try to front load for 3, 4, 5 battles at the beginning of each day, so that I can use them the next day at full strength. And then I'm just going to come back and knock the rest of the win with feats towards the end. I might even do it with, like, depending if there's an Amplify Agony, like a Third Sister and Grand Inquisitor, to try to knock them all out at the same time. I'm not worried about finishing those feats in my initial clearing. For Sector 2, we do have a lot of other options for those of you that are struggling. We can throw in the bonus turns from Darth Vader's Merciless Massacre with an Empire team or a Starkiller team, you know, whatever you want to do, but because Papa Palp is a Sith, you know, Starkiller will have a lot of his stuff deactivated. So really just an Empire team is going to be your best bet. You can throw in a Gas 501st team, which is going to give you days off of Gas's AoE, as well as the win with Galactic Republic. We can also throw in the old Bad Batch squad for inflicting days with Echo's AoE and winning with Galactic Republic. Notice that we don't have Omega in there because Omega is not a Galactic Republic. I learned that the hard way a very long time ago. Bo-Katan Mandalorians, days is, they get them like candy. Ig 12's AoE, Paz's AoE once he has 10 heat, Baby Bo's AoE. There, you're going to get a ton of 8 days if you're using a Bo-Katan Mandalore squad. You can use a Phoenix squad and use Captain Rex as well if that's your fancy. And then you can gain bonus turns as well with a Padme squad, because between Padme and Jedi Knight Anakin, they're going to be giving each other those bonuses, as well as GMY, as long as GK and Snip stay alive. Keep in mind, though, for Jedi Knight Anakin to get his bonus turns, other characters need to get close to death, right? If you kill things too fast, he's not getting them. Moving on to Sector 3. My picks, right? Attempt to inflict disarm 15 times, win 10 battles with SM-33 surviving. Now that I'm thinking about this, I might even do that with an Afro squad. I don't know. It depends on how many profit I have. Attempt to inflict blind 80 times and defeat 35 enemies with clone troopers. So this one is a no-brainer for me. I have my Jabba squad inflicting blind with Jabba's basic, inflicting disarm with Cursitan's special, inflicting evasion down with Cursitan's basic. I should be able to get those relatively easy. I don't really like using Jabba's squad too much for the blind because it's on his basic, and auto basic is boring and it takes a while, but I try to get as many of them done as I can with those disarms, and it's kind of nice that the two are working in tandem. I am going to use my Lord Vader squad again because I can get disarms with CX2 special. I can get kill enemies with clone troopers using that team, and I can continue to get my win with 4 dark side clone troopers as well. I have my Jedi Master Luke team, but I'm going to try and see if I can throw Ig 12 in here because I can inflict blind with his AoE as well as inflicting disarm with Wrecker. I believe it's his middle special. Let me see. I could look in my raw notes over here. New record, middle special. And then I've got my basic Moz team here on the bottom. Now, one thing that I was toying with the idea of, depending on the data disks, is just throwing like JML with CX2, Quercetan, and Wrecker, and trying to get as many disarms at once just to get it over with. It's an annoying one because those moves have such high cooldowns on them. But, you know, we'll see how it goes. Sometimes I do it easy. Sometimes I don't do it so easy, as long as it's mostly on a bonus node, right? For those of you that do not have the same tools that I have, a CLS squad is really great for blind as well as evasion down from Chupio's basic. Look at this silly little mistake, my Moonborn making this still white here on the front end. I can throw together a Ray squad using new Omega and Wrecker. And this team, the goal of this team is inflicting disarm with Wrecker's special. And using Omega to cycle turns, turn meter cooldown on Wrecker by healing him. So you'll want to keep their health relatively high because it has to do with the overheal. And the goal with the team is to take a lot of turns, but to not do a lot of damage, right? So you're going to want to find a team that does not have heavy turn meter to do something like this on. A Phoenix team that doesn't have Sabine might not be a bad idea because you're not going to do a lot of damage, but you will be able to cycle a lot of turns. And then, of course, I have the JML squad here, and there's the option of throwing Saw in there for his blind AoE as well if you just want to get it done with and over with quick. Whew. Moving on to Sector 4, we have win 10 battles with Tumor Boy surviving, gain evasion up 60 time, win 10 battles with no tanks, and inflict 300 damage over time. Now, those damage over time are not that hard to get. It's super easy. It's one of those things that spreads like the plague, except it's not the plague because that's its own debuff. Going through my goal here, CLS squad, winning with no tanks. It's a great no tanks team. Gaining evasion up from Han Solo's special. Inflicting evasion down with Chupio's basic. Boom, I'm using that here. I am going to use my Lord Vader squad. But I'm going to throw Darth Vader in there instead of Scorch. I don't know how well this is going to work because it turns off a lot of the interactions with Darth Vader being there instead of like Tarkin. But I want to try to get as many damage over time as possible. This is Sector 4, so I'll have a full data disc complement. It honestly shouldn't be so bad. Again, I'm just using a basic Maz team, throwing in Quiggle now because he also inflicts... I don't know, also inflicts blind on top of needing to survive. I know it says SM33 needing to survive, but that is just Moonborn being silly and me not catching the mistake because I am a silly goose as well. We can throw an old Bad Batch team here on the bottom, throwing in Omega and Captain Rex. Gaining evasion up is a Bad Batch core mechanic. They spread this, again, like the Plague, or like Maz with Prophet. And if I take Wrecker out of the squad and put Captain Rex in, I'm going to have a really good and easy time against some teams, even without having a tank. Now, for those of you that don't have these options, Mother Talzin, I don't really think that it needs to be Death Trooper on the end, but there is so much revive here that I don't actually think that you need Zombie in the team. You could throw in any low gear Night Sister, and I think that you'll be able to get win with no tanks without too much of an issue. This second team of Sith and Empire, is going to have a lot of damage over time between Darth Vader's Merciless Massacre and Sidious's AoE. I recommend throwing in a pre-taunt tank just in case, but you could throw a Nihilist too for more for more damage over time if you really want to. The Tusken team, if you got that Lightspeed bundle or you happen to have them, they are great against turn meter teams. They have no tanks and they inflict damage over time uh, with their core mechanics. So you should hopefully see a lot of that. Gain evasion up, Seven Sisters heal AoE. You'll notice here on the top, like the if or, there's the with Revo, without the Revo, with Third Sister, without Third Sister. I don't know if you even need Grand Inquisitor, honestly, but as we're getting into Sector 4, Fifth Brother lead is probably not going to do enough. But with Grand Inquisitor, you should not have a problem, right? We're going to go back one infographic just to show you our evasion up on basic characters. Luminara is probably your best bet because even though it's a 50-50 chance, this guy over here, I don't remember which one that is. Is that, it's not that Bad Batch Echo. It's only on clone allies. So if you throw Luminara into this Jedi Master Luke team, you should be able to get evasion up fairly easily, even if it's only a 50% chance, especially with Grandmaster Yoda spreading those buffs around. And then our final sector here, win with 10 battle. Oh, did we screw this up? Let's take a look. Sector 5 is win with full pirate squad. Yeah, not win with 10 battles with Quiggled surviving. Win with full pirate squad. Come on, Moonborn. So again, I skipped this last time, win with full pirate squad. Now that I have Maz's team, and I'll skip talking about it later, but now that I have Maz's team, I'm going to try throwing in this full pirate squad and see just how it works. And hopefully it's going to work out fine for me because I don't have Hondo yet. I think it'll be fine, especially with a full complement, because now my characters are 6 stars and 7 stars. Gain evasion up 60. Oh my goodness. No, we are going to change that. Sector 5 is inflict defense down, inflict tenacity down, and win with CX2 surviving. Okay, so ignore the sector feats here. It is win with pirates, win with CX2 surviving, inflict defense down, and inflict tenacity down. Right? I'm going to use my Gungans because of defense down on Boss Nass's special and Phalanx's basic. I'm going to inflict tenacity down with Phalanx's special. I have my Lord Vader team for win with CX2 surviving and win with 4 Darkside clones. We already talked about my pirate team, which is over here. I've got my Queen Amidala team, defense down, tenacity down, evade, and win with Galactic Republic, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy, that is my goal. Tenacity down on basic characters, I have BB-8, and I'm pretty sure this is Chewbacca. I mean, I know it's Chewbacca, but not Chewpio. And then my defense down on basic characters are Baby Cal, CLS, and I think that's Phalanx. I'm pretty sure it's Phalanx. I'm not 100% sure. But those are my teams. I think my Sector 5 is going to be relatively easy. If you do not have these teams available to you, and again, our feats here are win with CX2 surviving, win with a full complement of pirates, inflict tenacity down, and inflict defense down, right? So that is our goal. We can do that same trick here with Third Sister or Third Sister or with Grand Inquisitor to get defense down with Third Sister, Fifth Brother, and Ninth Sister, and inflicting Ninth Sister, that's the fat one. Inflict tenacity down, Fifth Brother's basic. We have my CLS squad because defense down with CLS is basic, tenacity down with Chewie's basic, and CLS is special, and inflicting evasion down with Chupio's basic. We have our classic Talzin, Mother Talzin team for defense down from AV's AoE, and inflicting tenacity down from Zombies basic. My Jabba team, again, defense down from Bosch's basic, inflict tenacity down from Dengar's AoE. Now, it's important to note that Bosch's basic is not here in the defense down area because it's only if there is a bounty hunter in the lead spot. And then we have a classic Leia team for inflict defense down with Leia. It only works on tanks and with Cassian. Inflict tenacity down with Captain Rex's AoE and Leia, but again, only works on healers and support. So that is all 5 sectors, but I want to talk about survival feats, and we talk about this every single time we talk about Conquest, right? Survival feats and wondering about how do I get this one character to survive? It heavily is going to depend on data disks. If you have Voluntary Vanguard, you can do something like Jedi Master Luke with Voluntary Vanguard and throw in whatever that character is, as long as you're on a node that does not have any AoE. If Voluntary Vanguard is not available, you can throw JML with Watt, right? And use Tank Tech, which is going to force that taunt. The only issue there is that you're wasting another slot on Watt, and then you can throw in your survival character. If Amplify Agony is there, you don't even need, I know some people like Volatile Accelerator as well. I don't ever use it. If Amplify Agony is there and you have 2 or 3 of them, a Lord Vader lead destroys things. A Third Sister lead with Grand Inquisitor destroys things. It just blows shit up. And if you do those things to get your teams ahead, you can throw in literally any character under them and they are going to explode the enemy team, and your win with character kind of just sits there on the side and doesn't have to do anything. Normally, any GL is going to be able to do it. I used Leia last Conquest cycle with 2 Zealous Ambition and Captain Rex. Leia goes, she does her thing. Captain Rex goes, he AoEs, everybody dies, right? So you need really 2 slots there, and then you can throw in whoever you want. Survival feats very much depend on your roster, and they very much depend on the data disks, but they are not that hard even with low star characters if you think about it correctly. And no, I don't think Relic Delta is actually going to change that much. I promise you, from what I have seen of Relic Delta in the basic, in the beta, I think that players are going to be fine, but that's a 3 months from now problem. But with all of that said, I hope you found the things that I've talked about here helpful. Once again, Awakened Mandalorians are recruiting. And if you need extra help, please, 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 please find us on Discord. Please don't be that person that messages me 2 days before Conquest ends asking for help. Please reach out early. People will help you. I will help you. We will be tracking the data disks to see which data disks are available. We always do that right away. We always put it right on Discord for everybody to find. And if you found this video helpful, share it. Tell people about it. I get my support from viewers like you. With that said, peace out and have a great night.